Hello, my name is Lexi Davis. I'm a self-discovery coach, a yoga and meditation instructor, a love enthusiast, and a really playful human being. I serve people through my business, Alive to Enjoy, and this is Heart Snuggles, a holistic wellness podcast where I invite guests to drop into their heart space through authentic conversations and compassionate intentions, all in mini cuddly episodes, hoping that you connect to your truth in the most authentic version of yourself. I hope you enjoy. Welcome, Heart Snugglers. We hope you're having a magical day. I brought the lovely Susan, who we met virtually through holisticism in a breakout room, and then ended up seeing each other like the next week. And yeah, so it's been a really fun, magical internet friend. And go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, Lexi. Thank you for having me. My name is Susan Moe, and I just trust the Zoom gods brought us together all those years ago, whenever that was. And here we are coming full circle on Zoom again. And I'm just really excited to be here.
Me too.
Well, I am an international psychic. I have clients all over the world. And so I do one-on-one readings, and then I do intuitive life coaching for people, especially people who are going through big life transitions. That seems to be a time when people need a little bit of extra support, and having that spiritual guidance when you can look at things sort of from that drone view as opposed to, all the stories and the details and all that kind of stuff. It really sheds light on things that you just kind of can't see when you're ruminating on those thoughts over and over and over again. And I'm a sort of a spiritual mentor, if you will. I teach people active, advanced energy management techniques so that they can actively manage their energy in their day-to-day lives. So all those kinds of good things. I just love it all.
So amazing, and so many beautiful areas. And I love what you said too. It's just like we need that zoom out because we get so hyper focused and just get lost. And when we can like take a breath out, and it's just so relieving. So yeah, beautiful work you do in this world. And I'd love to know how you got started in it, and then also when did you discover your psychic ability?
Yeah, so as a kid, I think many of us actually do. I had just precognitive dreams all the time, deja vus all the time. And I literally just thought that was normal. I didn't think anything of it. And then I had just started grad school. I was getting my MBA down at UC Irvine, and I ended up getting cancer. And I was like, okay, that's weird. And through that experience, so I did chemo and radiation and all those things, but I also did some alternative healing practices. And at some point, someone gave me a psychic reading as a gift, and it just completely rocked my world, cracked me open. And I was like, wait a minute, that's what I have. That's what that's called. That's a thing. And so then after I graduated with my MBA, I ended up doing like a 2-year master's in energy work so that I could control it. It wasn't just kind of happening to me when I was at the grocery store or something like that. And that's what enabled me to be able to give readings to others, is because I can manage it. I'm known as a very, very disciplined energetic reader. So that's kind of something that is important to me, is keeping the energy really, really clean.
And please teach us how, because I find that's a thing that a lot of people struggle with. So please share us how you do that, because I find that people struggle with that a lot. The, being clean and disciplined with their energy and not soaking up other people's and
Oh, it is really shocking to me that this is such a foundational tool to have as a human being, that this really should be started to be teaching already in preschool, kindergarten at the latest. And basically, we as souls, our energy can go anywhere. But our physical bodies have to be in the present moment, right? We breathe in the present, our hearts are beating in the present. But we can go back to the past and relive a situation so acutely that our body doesn't even know it. Will start having that same physiological response as if we were experiencing that in the real time. We can also go out into the future and just start stressing and worrying about things like that. We can go into other people's energies. I'm sure you've been around people where after your experience with them, you just kind of feel slimed. That's their energy coming in. And then also, like a lot of parents, what they do for their kids is they're all over the kids energetically, just in their space. And so those are all different ways that we are not being sort of having integrity with our energy. So what I teach is how to keep your energy within your own space, how to have those energetic boundaries so that other people aren't coming in. And then this is absolutely not about having mirrors or walls or protections or something like that. It's really just about owning your energy with so much power on authenticity and cleanliness that even if someone were to sort of slime you or throw their energy at you, it just flows through you, and it doesn't impact you at all. It doesn't trigger you. It doesn't, push your buttons, those kind of things. So when I'm reading somebody else, right, I keep that energy very, very clean for them. I don't go into their space. I don't allow their energy in. And I think that creates a nice, safe container for them to be vulnerable and fully where they are, and very trusting for me because they know I'm not trying to, be their guru or something like that.
It was 111 while you're talking, by the way.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
but I think, there's so many beautiful things you said there because, yeah, like, I remember a few years ago, I was a assistant for a psychologist who was very spiritual, and she told me, she's like, I was like, "I found out I'm an empath," and she was like, be careful how you use that word because people use that as a victim word and let people walk all over them, and you soak up people's energy, and so we kind of just use that, and at first I was like, I don't know, you really mean like, but I am one, so I was like, no, but now I kind of see what she means because I hear it all the time. Oh, I'm an empath, like I take on everyone's problems, like it just happens, and I think that is a no-no. So what is one way that you can not do that and not soak up? And even like that's another really good point you said too about the parents and the children. I see that all the time, like in dynamics. I'm like, you are suffocating them. Like you're not letting them be their own being. And that doesn't help either of you.
Exactly. And there's just some very simple energy management techniques that you can have. But for one thing, it's the awareness of when you're around someone and noticing where your energy goes, where their energy is. And that, you have to be able to be aware of it happening in order for you to do anything about that. And then, so, it's like releasing it out of the body. It's not something that is a mind game. It's not something you're going to think about like, oh, I'm not going to let this person bother me or something like that. It's really embodying that energy and keeping that river of energy flowing. So even when things come, I mean, things happen. That's life. We're not trying to be pure all the time. What we want to do is to develop confidence so that no matter what happens, we know that we will be able to have that energetic sovereignty. We will be able to create that internal well-being regardless of what's happening outside of us. That's super empowering because then we're not dependent on everything around us being all perfect in order for us to feel good. No, we decide when we feel good or not.
Yes. And that's another thing that I've fallen victim to as well. And a lot of people being a highly sensitive person and being like, I mean, it is valid. Like I am affected easily, but I don't have to, like, I can support myself through that, with those boundaries.
Right, right, right. And I think it's real important for all of us to know what our energy feels like. And if many of us we develop these sort of empathic or sensitive abilities as a result to having to have heightened awareness as a child, and also with societal programming, we're taught to merge our energy. We're taught that being loving is to merge with someone, when in fact all that does is cause confusion. Because when someone else's energy is in our space, we don't know what our energy looks and feels like. We don't know the integrity of that. But when you start to clear out everyone else's energy, you're like, oh my gosh, this is what my energy feels like. And this feels good because, of course, it feels good to just have your own energy in your space. It's like, no matter what your lot in life is, it just feels great to know what your energy is. And then that makes it so much easier when you're super clean. When someone else's energy comes in, you're like, no, you identify it immediately and then you can release it out. But you have to know what your energy feels like in the first place. The way I like to think of it is, say if you have a glass of water and you put different colored dyes in there. First, maybe some blue, and the blue is pretty, and then the green, and they're all unique in their own right. That's their energies. But if they start to mix together, it just becomes a blur and you're not able to see through that. But if you're clear and someone puts their little energy drop color in there, which is going to be different than yours, you're like, oh, and then you just kind of can take that out. But it's so much easier to see it when it's clear in the first place.
Yes, yes, I love that visualization, and it's so important too. And I also can relate to that feeling of like, whoa, this is my own energy. It's so nice. As being someone who always was in other people's energy, like just not knowing. And that's the thing, like we mostly just don't realize. And as soon as I found out, it's like, oh, I have power over this. Like I have control over this, and that's really important. So thank you for bringing that up. And I also think, which I know you talk about, like in work setting, it's really easy to fall victim to this too. And especially when you're maybe surrounded not in the best work environment. So is there protection mechanisms there extra that they can do, or just like what you just said?
Well, that's the thing is you don't need protection, and you don't
Mhm.
need to have your work environment be lovely and kind and wonderful and all that in order for you to feel good within yourself. You're not dependent. And that's what having ownership over your energy gives you. And I'll give you an example. A few years ago, we were woken up, in the pre-dawn hours to an explosion, and our house was surrounded from a natural disaster, a mudslide that killed 23 of our friends and neighbors, and our house, part of it was destroyed, and we were trapped in our home with these rushing rivers and cars and all of this thing. And I just remember feeling, okay, all I can do in this moment is I can ground and create safety within my own body so that I can be in my body and not, leave and get panicked. And so even in that disastrous experience, still being able to be present and have my wits about me was super helpful. So if people can do that in those kinds of life and death situations, certainly we can do that in toxic relationships or toxic work environments and things like that. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not trying to say like, oh, just use your energy and everything is fine. It's not like that. But you show up and you dig deep and you work the energy. It's very much not only possible, but probable.
Okay, yes, yes. I very much so relate. And I love, thank you for correcting me there because I've more recently been noticing how I actually can do that. And I am doing that naturally with that. But, it's been taking time of being aware of my energy and feeling safe within my body, which most of us don't feel safe within. And yeah, it's a lot of like unprogramming and relearning and cultivating, spending time to cultivate it. It's like, a garden is a good reference that people use a lot. It's like your internal garden, spending time, and even your room, like I've noticed too, like when you go in people's spaces, you can kind of you see what the energy is just by like how it looks and like, is it chaotic? Is it really, really, really organized? Like, there's just so much you can tell by that. And it's like the same that we can do with our internal landscapes as well. So empowering.
Yeah. And one thing you mentioned, like also about the energy in your business, is a lot of times people talk about not having your identity tied up to the business. And the way it looks to me energetically, like identity is in the brain. It's like in this top part of your head. So for me, it's more about having your energy enmeshed with the business. And how do you not just say to yourself, okay, I'm going to take weekends off or something like that, but all weekend you're like, at the beach or something, but you're still thinking about it, right? That just shows us that it's an enmeshment of the energy, and we want to be able to extract our energy off of our businesses so that we can see them with clarity. Because when you're too close to it, when you're enmeshed in it, it's just like being enmeshed with another person. So we want to be able to create that spaciousness and that distance. And then that also gives you space to have that creative energy flowing through, that sunlight to show you next steps or ideas that you maybe wouldn't be able to, come up with or see before. And it's almost like if you plant two trees too close together, neither one of them are going to be able to grow to their fullest potential. And it's the same with our business. If we're too tied and enmeshed with our businesses, you're not going to be able to flourish and your business won't be able to flourish. So we want to create that spaciousness, and that's all about energy. You're not going to be able to do that from a brain thinking kind of a thing.
Yes, and yes, I love that, and I want to practice that more because I definitely don't do that. So that's going to be helpful. I mean, like it happens, but I'm not conscious when it happens. Like I'm not realizing I could do that more often. And I'd like for you to talk about this, that what you said, like presence, and how we could be more present in moments instead of thinking about other things when we're at the beach or we're at somewhere amazing, but yet we're not fully there.
Yeah, actually, ironically, we were supposed to have this podcast interview last Tuesday, and you were having computer problems, and I was having this experience with our dog, and I was scheduled with you. So our dog hadn't been feeling super well, so my husband took him down to the vet, just go check him out, no big deal, and then it ended up being many hours at the vet, and then we got punted over to the ER, and so I went down to be there with my husband so we can figure out what was happening. And when the ER doctor came in, so first of all, the vet knew, right? He knew the numbers, he knew what was happening, but sort of couldn't handle like the emotions of my husband, like a fellow man, like, being emotional about this. And then, so we're over in the ER, and now I'm there, and I can see that the vet he's behind his clipboard, and he's going off about the numbers and the tests and the scenarios and the statistics and the likelihood, and on and on and on. And I could see, because I was so present, and I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but this is what I do. So it's sort of comes naturally to me now. And I could just see he's all wrapped up in his brain. He's all wrapped up in his discomfort that my husband and I are having this emotional experience. And so I just was able to drop into my heart. And so I just asked him when he was done with all of his on and on and on and on. I said, okay, doctor, thank you for all of that. What does your intuition tell you? And wow, you could have heard a pin drop. And he took a deep breath, like just automatically, like he didn't even know what he was doing. And he put the clipboard down. And then he said, a little bit softer, he said, just so you know, which he hadn't set up until this point. He was kind of leading us down like, okay, we're going to go for 4 days and we're going to do these tests and blah, blah, blah. He said, all right, so just so you know, this is not a case that we'll be taking day by day. We either need to do all of these tests for these 4 days and see if he responds, or we know what we need to do. And, so he was able to let his guard down, but still, could my husband and I talk about it for a minute? He says, sure. So he goes out and my husband and I talked about it. And what I did in that moment was I tuned into our dog. And luckily, since this is I'm able to communicate with animals. And I asked our dog if he wanted to do these tests and to hang on and, and see what was going to go. And I got a firm no. And I asked in 2 different ways because I just wanted to make sure that I was correct. And both times. And then when the doctor came back, I told him that we were not going to pursue. And I think you could see, obviously, that he was shocked by that. But when he could see that we were taking ownership over our experience, over our sorrow, and not looking to him to solve our problems, not putting our grief onto him, that he's the savior, that if he can just fix our dog, our emotions can be fixed. Right. And I think he's so used to everyone looking up to him saying, please just fix our dog so we don't have to feel so distressed. And then as soon as we told him that we were not going to pursue these medical treatments, you could just see this incredible relief. And then all the walls came down and we were 3 human heart-centered people in that room with our dog. It was so profound and so beautiful. And I just wondered, like, what if all doctors, not just veterinarians, but in the ER rooms, or all doctors could just soften into their heart, allow that discomfort of the person having their experience, getting out of the brain of trying to be the solver of their distress, and just taking a beat and allowing this experience to be what it is in the present moment. That's sort of ascended presence, right? Slowing way down in a life and death situation. It was really powerful. And then the other beautiful thing was, I would just keep it short, but my daughter was able to come down and to be there with us. And, I work with people who are transitioning all the time, like just helping them as they start to leave their bodies. And I can tell, like, okay, are they 20% out, or, how is this going? And I do that all the time. So, and I've also worked with animals before as they've transitioned, and I communicate. I mean, it's like, you would have thought that of all people, I should have expected this, but I didn't for some reason. And right as they were putting in the saline and the sedative, right at that moment, I saw our dog's soul pop out of his body. And I was like, oh my God, there he is. And then it reminded me that, I always say that, and a lot of people, I think, believe this to be true in this, especially in this world, but, we are spiritual beings having this human experience, right? We are souls first and foremost. And I have always viewed animals as, having personalities and characters and their own sentience and things like that. But I think I realized that I thought of animals as animals having a soul. And when I think of us, I think of we are soul that has a body. And in that moment, when I saw my dog's soul pop out of his body, I realized, oh, he's soul, and he is just happens to have this body in this lifetime. So incredibly profound. And that would have never, ever happened had I not had this very, very deep level of presence. So much was happening in that split second. It was like time just stopped. So I just think there's tremendous healing when we slow down. And I feel like these wars and these shootings and these, the Roe v. Wade that's happening, and all this anger towards women and animal agriculture, all this stuff, this is coming from our lack of understanding of ourselves as spiritual beings and our connection with others, humans, animals, our earth as her own living spiritual being as well, breathing and alive and intelligent. So I think I got off on a little bit of a tangent, but I think it all comes back down to presence. And that's why my business is called Ascended Presence, because it's like that next level, like that mindfulness and meditation. It's all wonderful, but that's just the first step. How do you take that into your daily lives? How do you take that into the vet appointment? How do you take that into the grocery store, into your teenager when they're melting down over something or whatever? All those mundane day-to-day things are so enhanced when we have that level of presence.
Mm. Everything that story you shared, it gave me the chills multiple times. And yeah, it's so profound how simple life, like just being present, how that changes so many things. And especially with dynamics, like it's when I'm dropped in and I'm present with somebody, you can tell when their breath changes and when something gets uncomfortable, and like you can immediately support them in a way they didn't even know they needed, because they're not aware of their bodily functions or what they're feeling. And when you can do that, like it's not just for yourself, it's like you're helping the other people around you too when you're not present. And it's just so amazing, because there's a gift that we all need, and it's really really hard nowadays because of all the distractions. We're distracted constantly, like we are are constantly getting stimulated, and it's like, how do we stop this addiction, because we're all addicted to the stimulation.
Well, I think first and foremost is, well, two points here. To your point, that when you do your healing work and you are present, the way it looks in my mind's eye is it's like there's a ripple effect, and you are that rock that is being dropped into that placid lake, being dropped into your body. And if you were to see a rock in nature be dropped into a placid lake, nobody has to go and cheer those rings. Go to the other side. You got this. I know you can do it. Or to push them or to effort them, right? It just happens by the laws of nature. And that is the same with us. Like just by me being present in that veterinarian was able to have this incredible experience as well. I didn't have to teach him about presence or about the soul or that, get out of your, no, it just happens. And then the thing about distractibility, I think we have to take ownership of what we can do. But part of that is having the awareness that lots and lots of people are being paid millions of dollars full time with their only goal to distract us. Because when we are distracted, we are going through the motion, we don't feel enough, and that keeps us consuming, that keeps us comparing, that keeps us, scarcity mindset. I got to get more of mine. So when we can pull ourselves out of that, again, not just intellectually saying, I got to get off, social media, it's how do you extract your energy out of there? How do you come to presence to know, oh, what is going on within me that I want to go to social media? Because when it comes right down to it, nobody's pushing your thumb on that app, right? We're the ones doing that. But it's only when we don't have presence. But when you have that presence, it's like before that thumb hits that little thing, it's like, whoa, are you bored? Are you sad? Are you feeling less than? Do you want to connect with someone? Do you want to chill out? I mean, it doesn't matter what you choose as long as you are choosing to go and not the other way around, not getting sucked in.
Yes, it's so important. I mean, all my work is about this too, about like pointing the finger inwards. It's like it is, everything is a reflection of your internal world, and just like that radical self accountability and ownership of your own reality and your actions. And I think that's really great. And something I talk about also all the time, which you were mentioning about, like when you can feel those emotions within yourself, you can not maybe not effortlessly, but you have the ability, capacity to do that for someone else. And so often, like in people pleasing, and codependence, like all these things, we don't know how to sit with that discomfort in ourselves, so we don't let others sit with that discomfort. And that's why it's so powerful. And like since I've been in this somatic work, like I've really been learning about how to be with my body, and it's so transformational, and it's really not that bad. Like it's really not that bad to feel that discomfort and to feel that pain, feel that anger, and all those things that we're not taught how to. And then like giving that gift, like it's almost way more rewarding to be able to give that to someone else, of like letting them just sit there and letting them cry in front of you, or letting them like feel a little bit frustrated and not projecting your frustration back onto them, and just like getting, help. It's just, there's so many benefits. Like you said, it really does just ripple out. So I think that's really beautiful.
I don't know about you guys, but I know I've been struggling to find inner peace lately, and thankfully I discovered Open, a mindfulness studio for everyone. As a yoga teacher, it's been difficult to find an online studio that actually shifts my well-being, and wow, let me tell you, Open transforms your mind through body and breath in an immersive space designed to take you to the here and the now, no matter where you are or where you begin. Open offers live and on-demand breathwork, meditation, yoga, and Pilates guided by the leaders in mindfulness, centered on music and rooted in community. Hello, two of my favorite things. And their aesthetics are on point. So as always, I'm getting you the best of the best. So I got you 30 days free. Just use the code HEARTSNUGGLES and let your ritual begin now.
Yeah. And also, what you said was you're not trying to jump in and solve it for them, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're not trying to take the discomfort away. You're just allowing them to experience that. And what I would just say is on having that awareness of what's experiencing in your body, and then being able to move it to keep that energy flowing. How do you keep that river of energy flowing so that it's clean and clear? So you feel it, you look at it, you learn from it, you discover from it. And then when you're ready, you process it. And that's getting it out of the body, not thinking it away, not putting it in a little container, but actually releasing it out of the body so you can bring in new energies and keep that energy flowing.
Yes. And I was just talking with one of my very beautiful friends who's, a light worker, like energy healer, or, she does beautiful work. And she was saying how she like gets home and she's like, oh, like, whoa, she finally is in her own energy. And she's like, oh my gosh, like I've been, taking on everyone's all day. And I was like, I know exactly how you feel. I've spent many years, most of my entire life doing that. And one simple practice I love doing is the shower cleanse. Really helps me. Like, how often do you take a shower and you're not even feeling the water on you? Like, I swear to God, sometimes I'm in there and I'm just like, wait, I just showered. Like, so it's like when you do that and you imagine like the water cleansing everyone else's energy off of you, and like, sending it down with love and light, and just coming back, like claiming I'm calling all my power back. And it's just so healing. And it's something that we do every day to like, so if you maybe don't think about clearing your energy like throughout the day, like maybe the shower can be the first place that you start that practice, because I found that was really helpful for me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. With the drought in California, you might have to come up with that.
Oh yeah, true.
Right? Like just doing it energetically, or when you're brushing your teeth, or I mean, it's a great practice, and anything that brings you into that, it's basically just energetic hygiene, right?
Hmm.
So, you're not going to just brush your teeth one time and expect them to stay clean for days on end. You want to keep that energy clean on the regular.
Yes, yes, please. And speaking of, yeah, this energy work, and I would love to hear how you integrate that with your family, and like how do you share these superpowers or not?
Well, first of all, I walk my talk,
Mhm.
and I really, practice that, and I try to teach them as well. But I'll share an example. One of my children is allergic to everything. So I can't really touch much, especially in the kitchen. I can't touch anything without washing my hands first. So, I have just used that as my little cue. Like you said, like, can you feel the water? Where were you right now? Just to come back down to presence. But if you're a mom, you would think, well, of course I get to worry about that kid because he literally could die any day. He's out and about. It's that level. And it's not true. When I look at him at the soul level, he's the youngest of all of my kids. He's actually the wisest soul of all five of us together. He's like a very, very evolved soul. And so when I look at him like that, I know that he came here with, first of all, he didn't think he needed to come here. So he's got all these like allergies and frustrations with being here. And I just of course, I support him. I get him his EpiPen, and I take him to the allergist, and I try to make sure that everything is clean before he eats anything and things like that. But if I check myself, I will find that if I'm not careful, I will be in his space worrying about him. He's on a school field trip. I'm on that field trip. Is he okay? Is he eating? Is he what's happening. And you would think as a mom, that's my right. I get to do that. That's my kid. But as a soul, it's not true. I have to pull my energy off of him and bring it back home because that's his soul's path in this lifetime. And I can't assume that I know what's best for him and his soul because I don't. Only he does. And God or Gloria or Yolanda or, whatever you want to call that energy that is beating your heart and growing your fingernails. So that is one example of, just how easy and how logical it would seem and how justified I could normally feel with society that of course I'm going to worry about this kid. He could die any day, but no, I'm taking ownership over my experience. And by doing that, I'm able to have a much better relationship with him because I'm not sliming him with all my worry. And I'll share just one more example. My daughter will probably kill me, but so my daughter is getting ready to go off to college, and I function better when things are nice and orderly. But out of 5 people, I am the only person who does that. And she likes to have her room in a very chaotic, in my mind, state. And the other day, I found myself just jump out into the future and say, "Oh my God, when she's gone, this house going to stay so clean." But I caught myself, I saw myself leave and go out to the future and have this fantasy that the house is going to stay clean when she's not here. And then I was able to come right back to the present moment and say, "Whoa, Susan, you're already wishing her away. How about you accept the way that she likes to live? And how about you enjoy each and every moment that you have with her for these next few months before she leaves?" That's the power of owning where your energy is in space and time and other people. And then just being able to enjoy her for who she is and release all of my expectations. I don't know if that was an example that was helpful, but it just
Very,
happened.
very. Yeah, no, those are super great and so relatable for any parent out there and any relationship dynamic you have because we all have those thoughts. And the first time I learned about this was Loving What Is by Byron Katie. I repulsed the book. I was like, this is stupid. I don't like it. Like,
I had the
no,
same
I'm not.
experience.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not gonna like someone's mess and like when they do, yeah, no. And then I like, like you said, it starts to land where like when you try it, just try it, you see how the dynamic shifts in the relationships and how liberated you let them feel. And everyone wants to feel liberated. Everyone wants to feel free. And like being able to create that creates deeper relationships and a more loving, love-filled, joy-filled places when we stop trying to control and change other people. It's not easy. Like it's not an easy practice like to do all the time. However, when you do it, it is so rewarding. And I think like especially as a parent, like, wow, I'm so proud of you. Like that's amazing. And I
Well,
definitely want to be a parent like that.
Well, thank you. Well, we're not going to, we will always be in touch.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
think that the thing to highlight in this experience was that I wasn't doing it for my daughter.
Mhm.
I wasn't doing it for her. I wasn't doing it so she would like me. I wasn't doing it to avoid conflict. I was doing it for my well being, for my feeling peaceful and feeling good in my body, even though that level of, chaos doesn't typically feel good. What can I do that I'm not dependent on her room being clean in order for me to be happy with her? And then, as you said, by default, because I took ownership over my experience, then she's free. And of course, by default, then our relationship is better. But you see, it's a result of me doing the work, not me trying to pretend everything is fine or to, just make her not, I don't know. It wasn't about her. It was about me. And then she gets the benefit as a result. And then I get the benefit of a better relationship with her. So it's super nuanced, but it does make a difference.
Yes, that's really important to add because for sure I've done that many times where I'm trying to do it for them still, even though I'm like, yeah, that's a really great point to bring up. And I think it needs to be practiced more because we forget that, it matters. Like when we take care of ourselves, it's not selfish. Like it affects everyone else so, so much. And about like being spiritual and, when you do these practices, you're not even describing them to your family, it's just like they're receiving the benefits from you doing it yourself. And so if like, let's say your family isn't accepting of like your woo woo spiritual, whatever practices, like it still is going to trickle onto them in their own ways. And at the end of the day, these woo woo things aren't like, you don't need to like what am I trying to say? Like, it's not something crazy out there. It's like very real in this current reality.
That's right. And I don't need to proselytize to them. I don't need to teach them or share. I mean, obviously we talk about it just in our everyday thing, but I don't need to shove it down their throats. I allow them to experience whatever they can experience. And that's, just on the daily.
Yeah, that's so great. So, so great. And I know just I would love to touch just shortly, like you're very passionate about the earth and being vegan. And would love to hear just a little bit about your journey and the importance of it too.
Yeah, so I guess I would say that what happened for me is that I have been involved in the environmental movement since I was a teenager, and I don't know if you've ever seen this documentary called Cowspiracy, but in the film, the main guy who's making it, he's cutting out plastic windows in the envelopes, just trying to make sure that every little bit is going to be recycled. And I was that person, just spending so much of my life force energy trying to take care of our planet. And what I learned in that documentary, which was super shocking, was how devastating to our planet animal agriculture was. And I remember thinking, like, I've never even heard this term, animal agriculture. What is that? That kind of sounds like permaculture. Like that could be nice, like farming and like right, like so cute. And but I learned, the horrors of that. And it's quite interesting because I stopped eating animals as a result of that movie for the planet, right? Thinking like, well, I've been picking up trash at the beach. I'm working so hard trying to, but here I am feeding my family animals. So our whole family stopped eating animals slowly but surely. And then of course we learned about the health benefits and that all felt good. And my husband started losing weight and people were commenting. He's like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then it wasn't until sometime into the journey that we became aware of the sentience of animals. It was almost like when you get that violence out of your physical system, you get it out of your energetic system. And then all of a sudden, like the curtains part and you can see their sentience. And I just didn't want to be a part of contributing to those companies to support those industries. And then, there's a scene either in that one or another documentary where these pig farmers on the East Coast are spraying the feces on these farms on the Sundays, and all the people who live in those areas that they can't come out of their homes. So what I say to people is, even if you don't care about the animals, you don't care about the earth, you don't really care about your health, like this is a human rights issue, right? To be able to live on our home. The thing is that we all breathe the same. We all live on this one beautiful blue swirling ball hurling out in space. It really behooves us all, regardless of our taste buds, to work together to try to create as much healing as possible for our earth and just energetically as well, not contribute to this suffering and the anger and all that, to have more peace in ourselves, peace on our plates, and yeah, just in general.
That's such a good point. Yeah, it's like that's another way to zoom out, full circle here. It's like it's not just about you and you being obsessed with me or whatever, like that's the first thing people say, oh, I could never do that. It's like, hold on, this isn't just about you. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, because what we eat impacts, women and children in, some other island nation where they're having to, abandon their homes and things like that because they're not being, and those are women just like us, children, just like our children. And that's a lot of suffering that we in the West aren't experiencing just now. But as I mentioned before, that mudslide that our family experienced, that was climate caused. It was a result of the largest fire in California's history at that time, the Thomas Fire, and this mudslide was a result of that. So that was also climate caused, happened in California, in the West, in the same home where Oprah and Ellen live. This can happen anywhere, and it's starting to impact. I'm hoping more of us will wake up. So I really sort of stopped doing my readings and things like this. After I watched that movie, I kind of went all in, just dedicating my life. I started this One Green Smoothie channel on Instagram, even though I wasn't on social media, just really, and I was starting to get consumed by this and really frustrated that the people that I know and love and are nice people, that they just were clueless about this. And then something happened. I read this article and it's clearly evident that this thing is happening and we have missed our chance. And I just had kind of an emotional breakdown. So what I was saying earlier about keeping my energy clean, pulling my energy off. I was doing that with my family, with my clients, with the schools and all these things, but I wasn't doing it with the climate crisis. And when I had this sort of a existential breakdown, this nervous breakdown, I went into a deep meditation and I did all the things that I do with the regular things. For some reason, I hadn't done that. It just seemed like this was so important, this environmental crisis. And I released all that anger and sadness and fear. And what I was able then to see, because when you clear away those energies that are clogging your third eye, I just asked, what is my purpose here? And, I was told, hey, release your certainty that the climate crisis is bad. I was like, what? Who doesn't think this thing is bad? And I was told so clearly, release. You don't know. Maybe, just maybe, humans need to be terminated so that the earth can heal for the greater benefit of the galaxy. That's zooming up. I hadn't thought about that,
Wow.
and I was like, okay, well, what am I supposed to do then? Like, so I'm not supposed to like do this, like try to help people wake up. Like, no, do your readings, teach people about consciousness, share about presence, because that's the way that they will learn that we're all connected, that it behooves us all to care about each other. Because when you win, Lexi, when you're successful, when you're abundant, you have more to give. And that ripples out to me. And when I am successful and abundant, and not with money, but feeling good, feeling joyful, feeling present, then that ripples out to you. And we all benefit because the ripples just go and go and go and go far beyond what any of us can imagine.
Heart snuggles.
Yeah. So that's why I just started doing this again.
Yeah. Oh, that's so amazing. And we really wouldn't know those answers unless we got still and quiet to receive those answers. And I forget that often, like somehow, even knowing, like you just said you did too, like even knowing that that's where the answers come, I'll get so caught up in the trying to solve or figure out or ask my community, or, it's like if I just sat with myself, the answers come and they're not going to make sense always, like you being like, what?
Yeah.
However, it always, like, if we can learn to, like, I find that's the biggest thing, like trusting that voice, trusting those messages. And it doesn't matter if they make no sense at all, just like, they're always right. I don't know, they just are.
Exactly. And when I release, it's not like I don't care. I still raise awareness when I can, just even in this podcast, but I myself have come back to equilibrium. I do what I can, but I'm not taking responsibility for everybody else. And that frees me from that pressure. And I guarantee you, in the last 2 years since I started Ascended Presence, I have created more good, more positive for myself and others than I ever would have trying to, shake the cages and say, people, like, we gotta wake up, like, danger is coming. So I think that was, so it wasn't what I expected, but it was beautiful. And I'm so, so grateful because I'm such a happier person and so much nicer to be around too.
Yes, that's what I was gonna say. Because when I started this work of, like, waking up and getting awareness, you're like, can't help but try to push it on to everyone because you're like,
Yep.
come on, you need to know this. And that no one responds well to that energy. Like, we all have felt that before. And it's that, like, pressure that just, it doesn't align well. And so, yeah, it really does make a difference when you can just trust, like, this is my gift. And when I do my gift, my natural ability, that is what actually is going to create the change. And yeah, just by, like, eating vegan in public, people ask you a question like, oh, you're vegan? Like, and it gets them curious instead of being like holding a sign like, stop eating me.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Exactly. So true. So true.
Yes. Amazing. So if people want to work with you, what do you offer and where can they find you?
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Do such a good job of sharing your platform with other people and promoting them. It's really what my heart is about as well. So to be on the receiving end of that, just it feels really validating and I appreciate that. So I offer one-to-one readings. I do life coaching. I have a monthly practicum, which is basically, it's sort of part training and then part real-time experience where we learn about these active energy management techniques and then we use them in real time so that you could feel confident going out and using them in your own daily lives. I have a newsletter where I share, just learnings and things like that. That's free, lots of free content on my blog. And then I have a free community where it's private. So there's no algorithms, there's no followers or anything like that. And we have a dream circle in there where people could share their dreams and get help interpreting them. We have a book club where it's about, really meaningful books and discussions. It's really for anybody who's interested in leading an intuitive or an intentional life. And that is free to anyone who would like to join us. And all of that can be found at ascendedpresence.com. And on my website, I have a free 5-day guide to help people, just super practical, easy tips to increase presence in your day-to-day lives. So they can download that for free.
Incredible. I need to join these things. I'm so sad I haven't been a part of it. I'm so excited. And I am just blown away like this by everything you shared today. And I'm so grateful for you. And that, of course, we were brought together, but I'm just, forever grateful.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure. And it really was just laughing so hard when we met. And you asked me where I was from. I said, "Oh, Santa Barbara." You said, "Oh, I'm going to Santa Barbara on Friday." I was like, "Oh, well, let's go to Sunrise Hike." And we did. And then you've been here and taken care of our dog that just died. And it's just been incredible the way it worked.
So aligned. It's so
Yeah,
great.
it's so fun. So thank you very, very much.